Thank you so much for the wonderful introduction. Thank you, HSMAI, for having me. Thank you, Mona and Amal, for making this possible. And thank you all for being here today. Before I begin, I'd like to ask you all to please stand up. Little skips. I didn't think this through when I chose to wear a dress, but little hops, please. Great, let's pump some blood into our systems, shake off the stress of sitting down. If I'm gonna talk about movement, I'm gonna get you guys to move. Reach up. Can't really reach up with the dress, but you can. Come back to center and reach to the other side. And reach down for your feet. Think you need that? Come back up and give yourselves a big hug. Please take a seat. Thank you. My name is Nelly Attar, and I move for a living. I'm a professional climber, a sports entrepreneur, and a former therapist. I stand before you today to inspire you to move more, to encourage you to take more risks. I started off my career as a therapist a little over 10 years ago. I was living in Saudi at the time, and as many of you know, there weren't many opportunities for women to engage in sports. There were no official female gyms, no female gym licensing, no sports events for women, and you'd rarely find women training outdoors. So when I was working at the hospital as a therapist, I had this strong urge to deliver fitness classes. I didn't feel like it was natural for me to sit down all the time, and I wanted to encourage other people to move. It felt like a risk, but it felt like an even bigger risk to not take the risk. So I went with it. I gathered a group of psychologists from the hospital and organized my first dance class at the hospital. The class was far from great, but it got the ladies to move. And it left them feeling charged, energized, excited. And it did the same for me. So I started delivering more of these classes every week. Eventually, I diversified venues, workouts, and even the people I delivered the classes to. So I started teaching friends, parents of friends, at embassies, and at the handful of illegal gyms that existed. A few years down the line of offering classes all across the city, I launched an initiative to run free boot camps so I can engage more people in sports. This was run from a warehouse in my stepfather's office building. The warehouse was so bare, there were no mirrors, there were no windows. And what we do is wait for the men to leave the office building for us to sneak in and move. Those classes caught on fire. They were full, week by week. So I started to offer more of these classes. I diversified the classes. Eventually, I turned this into a business. I monetized the classes. I gathered people from the community to help me run the space. And then I quit my full-time job. And I decided to focus entirely on this community. What do you know? Saudi started to change during that period. Women can now own gyms. Women are now encouraged to engage in sports. So it couldn't have happened at a better time. So this is where we started, at a warehouse, empty warehouse, underground community, and in 5 years, we became Saudi's first dance studio, Move. So this was us in 5 years. And I remember telling my friend, a friend that used to come to my dance classes, that there is no way I'll ever open a dance studio. I don't have what it takes. And how can I do this from Saudi? It was an idea that was too wild to entertain. Not only did I launch a dance class, Move, I launched it during a time when Saudi was listed as the least active country in the world. And we enabled, through Move, and in partnership with the Ministry of Sports, with Nike, with Apple, with other global brands, we enabled thousands and thousands of people to move across the kingdom. No dream is ever too big. Sports keeps showing me this. And during this period, I started to delve into sports. I delved in really, really deep. I wanted to show my community that if I could do it, they can do it too. And sports doesn't stop with dancing. It's limitless. So I started racing, joining marathons all across the world. This is Berlin Marathon. I started doing triathlons all across the world and half Ironman distance races. And I started to climb. I climbed a lot. And in 2019, I became one of the first 3 Lebanese females to scale Everest, the highest peak in the world. Thank you. And here again, I didn't really know what I was doing when I started. I remember packing my bags for Kilimanjaro and a friend helping me. And I was telling her that I'll never be interested in big mountains. I don't have what it takes. And it's a world so far away from mine. Well, today, I've not only scaled Everest, I've scaled K2, the 2nd highest peak in the world, Lhotse, 4th highest peak in the world, Annapurna, 10th highest peak in the world, and 30 peaks globally, making history for Arabs over and over again. And I've recently launched an initiative called Climb with Nelly, where I take people on trips, don't worry, not like Everest, but trips across Saudi, across the MENA region, to hike and climb and be outdoors. So I hope you join me one day. Actually, Sami was mentioning the highest peak in Saudi is 3,000 meters, and that's where I'm going to be in 3 days. So if you'd like to join, you're welcome. So sports has taught me that no dream is big enough and nothing is impossible. And it's taught me other lessons that I would invite you to take note of, because I know that sports will change your life too. If you want something bad enough, you'll make it happen. No hurdle, no challenge, no excuse is big enough. And you will come to realize that every challenge, every obstacle along the way is there to test you, to elevate you, to help you think out of the box, to help you navigate through the unknown, and to help prepare you for what it is that you're after. I trained for the world's highest peaks from the desert. I trained for the world's highest peak from a country that had no sports infrastructure. If you want something bad enough, you'll find a way. You're stronger than you realize. Only when you think you've hit the wall, only when you're at the point of breaking, will you realize how strong you are. There was a man that once told me, this was during an attempt to the highest peak in Europe, Elbrus. His name is Giovanni, and he mentioned that, Nelly, when you think you've hit the wall, you still have 80% within you. And I thank him because that was what kept resonating in my mind during Summit Day, a 16-hour Summit Day. When you think you've hit the wall, you still have 80% within you. So when you think you've hit the wall at work, in a relationship, at a work project, dig deeper. Dig deeper. You still have 80% within you. Don't let the fear of falling stop you from climbing up. As they say, feel the fear and do it anyways. Fear is a good emotion. It keeps you alert. It keeps you focused. It keeps you aware of your circumstances. It's complacency that's dangerous. Complacency can kill you on a mountain. I feel fear before every training session. I still feel fear today. And I've trained countless hours. I felt fear standing here today, and I've delivered hundreds of talks. So feel the fear, feel the anxiety, feel the doubts, feel the insecurities, and do it anyways. Here's a little video from a ladder crossing on Everest. I was terrified.
Good job, Nelly.
Thank you. One mistake, and I'll fall into this. Setbacks can be your greatest comebacks. Through sports, I've learned that all challenges will pass. And if you're proactive enough, you can turn a setback into a milestone of its own. Last year, I tore 3 ligaments in my ankle, preventing me from doing any climbs, any leg workouts. Second day, I hit the gym, and I do what I can, arm training. And it felt unsettling being a novice at sports. But I promised myself I'd show up. I promised myself I'd pull myself through this period until I was able to train my legs again. 6 months after the injury, I broke a world record for 2-finger pull-ups. Yeah, it's so random, but it's also not random. This wouldn't have been inspired if I didn't go through my injury. This wouldn't have been possible. In 2019, I was on top of the world, having scaled Everest, metaphorically and physically, on top of the world. 2020, COVID plagues the world. Move, my dance studio, goes online, and 7 months later, we had to shut down. I thought that was the biggest challenge I'll ever go through in my life. 10 months into COVID, I lose my dad. I never thought I'd be able to see the other side of grief. I never thought I'd be able to go through this period. From top of the world in 2019 to the darkest rock bottom in 2020. But what do you know? 2 days after Dad passes away, Allah yarhamu, I started an online initiative to get people active in his honor called Sunday Sports, because Sunday was his favorite day to run. And thousands of people joined. 9 days. 9 days after Dad passed, I ran a virtual program for Nike called You Can't Stop Sports. And it was streamed by thousands of people to encourage people to dance and move. And 1 year after Dad passed, I made history for the Arab region by standing on the world's most dangerous mountain, K2. So here I was again, on top of the world, this time with my grief and with my dad in my heart every step of the way. So setbacks can be your greatest comeback. And this is a little snippet from the summit of K2. Oh. How can I play this? Okay, I was crying, but...
Never give up. Never give up. These are happy tears.
One of the best days of my life. And this leads me to my final point, to my final lesson. And I want you to hear it from my dad.
Can find out how far they can go. Only those who risk going far can find out how far they can go.
So risk it. Take the risks to get to your own Everest. I wouldn't be standing here today if I didn't take risks. Thank you.